Okay, hi everybody. Here we are back at Talking Bullocks. We're here today, the two of us Bullocks, talking about football, mainly in the continent of Africa in particular. And as ever, we have a guest to give us some great insight into all of that. So I'm going to pass over to Chris, who's going to introduce the guest.
Hi everyone, welcome to Talking Bullocks, and today we're very lucky to have a legendary, we'll say legendary coach now, but was a legendary player, now legendary coach in South Africa, Duncan Crowie. Duncan, welcome to Talking Bullocks.
Hi Chris, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good. No, it's our pleasure to have you on today. We're looking forward to a nice conversation with you. So let's just get straight into it, Coach Duncan. Let's start with a little bit about yourself and your journey in football. How did it all start? And how did you get from where it all started through your football career as a player and where you are today as a coach?
Well, that's a long story. That was a long time ago as well. But I started playing soccer as a 6-year-old, growing up in Heidelberg on the Cape Flats. Played for Hotspur as the amateur, stayed with the club, come to think of it, I've stayed with the club until the end, until they went defunct. So I've been loyal to that club. And thereafter, I joined a club called Glenbean as a senior, as a 16-year-old, 16 turning 17 years old. Played in the senior team. I played for them for 2 years, and then the team turned pro. We became Glenbean became a pro team in the Federation League. Federation Professional League. That's the non-racial league, and that was during the apartheid era. And I was like I said, 16, 17 when we turned pro. I played with them for 2 years, and then Santos came in for me. Lightbody Santos came in for me, and I've been at Lightbodies for almost 20 years. Coached the team, captained the team, won numerous trophies. With the club, individual awards as well. In between, I had loan spells with Hellenic for 1 year and at Cape Town Spurs for 11 games on loan as well. But I've been with Santos for most of my playing career, and as I must say, it was very enjoyable. And even though it was hard times during the apartheid era, but it was still enjoyable.
Great. I mean, obviously, Santos have always been a well-known club, but tell us go back to just that apartheid era a little bit. Tell us a little bit more, especially for those that maybe don't know so much about the history of South Africa and football in South Africa. How did it work during apartheid times? How was football structured?
Yeah. Because of apartheid, we all know what apartheid is all about. That's the ugliest thing that can happen to any human. And we had to fight to ensure that everybody receives the human rights, to ensure that there's equal rights for everybody, that everybody is human and everybody needs deserves to have equal rights. And Federation, as I've mentioned, they played under the banner of SACOS. SACOS is the South African Council of Sport. And the logo for SACOS was no normal sport in an abnormal society. Normal sport meaning everybody playing together. That's normal for everybody to play together. And in an abnormal society, which means abnormal because of the apartheid era. So we use the soccer and sport because SACOS, under the umbrella of SACOS, we had all sporting codes. And we use that vehicle to fight against apartheid. We call it the multiracial league. We didn't want to create a situation where the outside world sees everything is hunky-dory in South Africa. Everything is rosy. They're playing together. That is why we said that we will be a non-racial league. You join us. We don't want to join the apartheid league. And the companies and the government was against SACOS. They made sure that SACOS doesn't receive sponsors. They wanted SACOS to go down. They wanted SACOS to go under. But that was our way of fighting apartheid through sport. Yes, we had the ANC fighting the battle as far as apartheid is concerned. And we used that vehicle to show the outside world everything is not right in South Africa. And we need help from outside. If the outside world thought that everything is fine, they're playing together, they won't assist us. And even in 91, 92, when there were talks with the ANC and the national government, then SACCOS was used as a vehicle to help as far as fighting apartheid is concerned as well. So yeah, that is the dark side of soccer. But I'm proud that I played a part. As far as that is concerned, we never played for money. There was no money. It's like I said, there was no sponsor. Anybody that wanted to sponsor the professional wing of SACCOS, the Federation League, where we played in, they were terrorized. They were victimized if they sponsored us. So the club owners had to find monies for transport, to fly the players to wherever they play in Joburg, Durban, wherever, and they had to foot the bill for the accommodation as well. No sponsors at all. All of us played for nothing. If there was something, then it was just petrol money that we got. But that is the sacrifice. That is the sacrifice, and I don't regret a single moment.
That's amazing. So you really played. So it just shows how sport could play a really important part in that fight against apartheid. So yeah, really interesting. So just moving. So we've heard a bit about sort of Duncan the player and Duncan and the role he played in the fight against apartheid. Obviously, since then you've moved into coaching, and I know you've played a huge role in terms of youth development in South Africa. So where would you say South Africa is right now in terms of youth development and what it's trying to do as a country in terms of youth development in football?
Man, we're doing a lot, and there are people in South Africa that's doing a lot, but I think we're not where we should be. Or I'm not saying where we want to be. Everybody wants to be a winner. But if you look at the infrastructure of what we've got here in South Africa compared to other countries on the continent, then we shouldn't be where we are. If you look at where Bafana is as far as the rating is concerned, if you look at where we end up in junior tournaments, we should be better off. And yes, I'm part of SAFA. Everybody that's a member of SAFA is part of it. And every member of SAFA must play a part to ensure that there's an improvement. And we must just put our heads together and ensure that we get where we want to be. Not so long ago, I'm a coach's instructor. We call it coach's educator for CAF as well. And one of our philosophies, we had a 10-year plan. SAFA, we had a 10-year plan where we want to see Bafana in the top 3 on the continent, top 20 in the world. Well, we're way off as far as that is concerned. We must be open and honest with ourselves. We've got quality in our country. We've got quality administrators in our country. We've got quality coaches in our country. We've got quality players in our country. So we need to put our heads together to ensure that we work together for one purpose, get Bafana where we want them to be. I've mentioned to the coaches in a meeting earlier on here at the club that, if we improve ourselves as coaches, if we improve our training sessions, then automatically the players will improve. And that is what we're all about. If we can do it on a small scale here at our club, and each club has got the same mentality. Let's say each club has the same mentality, then Bafana will be better. We mustn't look at administrators saying, but you doing this and you not doing that. Is what we doing on the ground that's important.
Yeah.
Yes, we can put plans into place, but that will come at a later stage. Let's create, or rather, let's develop our players to the extent where they should be and take their rightful place on the continent. And thereafter, the world will see to itself.
Brilliant. And so, as you obviously mentioned, you're a SAFA instructor. You've talked about the importance of coaches playing their part in that, which I obviously do agree with. But what is being done then to make sure you've got those coaches in place in South Africa? Is there enough being done now in terms of coach education to make sure we've got enough coaches who are qualified to run those youth development programs?
Yes, I can only talk about the Western Cape because I know what's going on in the Western Cape as far as coaches, instructors are concerned. Like I've mentioned, and you mentioned as well, that I'm a coaches instructor. We do have enough coaching courses. but not enough coaching courses higher up. The D level is the CAF D level is the lowest. And we have numerous of those. That's fine. And we can say, let's work and improve on grassroots level. But like a doctor, like a teacher, like most professions, you must be qualified. And it's important for us. At the moment, we had an A license not so long ago for, I think it was 20 coaches. I speak under correction, I think it was 20 coaches. But we don't have enough of those. You know, the higher you go, the more intense it becomes. And those who go higher and climb the ladder higher, they know why they're climbing that ladder. They know why they're climbing that ladder, and they got an objective. Because some of us, let me just get the coaching qualification, and that's fine, and that's where they stay. So coaching qualifications higher up, E level, C, D, and A licenses. We need more of that so that we can get more qualified coaches. You know. And like one of the coaches said in the meeting, and it's rightfully so, everybody should say it. You must never be satisfied with your qualifications, and you must never ever think that you know everything. And you're right, that question that you ask about coaches' qualifications and workshops, that's so vital. But we need more at a higher level.
Yeah, brilliant. That makes a lot of sense. That so let's move on now to your club job, and obviously you're heading up the youth development there at Cape Town Spurs, and obviously Spurs are renowned for their youth development and promoting a number of players into the professional game. They've obviously got a lot of big successes in terms of players that have moved on to Europe, and obviously there's players such as Stephen Pienaar that we can talk about. But even now, a lot of the first team players have graduated through that academy. What is it that the club is doing well to produce the number of players that it has produced in the past, but what it's still producing now as well?
Man, let me start by saying, I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, or the club's own trumpet here, but it goes without saying that when it comes to youth development, this is the philosophy of the club, and they put a lot of time into the youth development here at the club. As the slogan goes, the youth future, they are future. That's very important. If you look at most teams, except for four teams in the PSL, you will find an Ajax or Cape Town Spurs player in that team, and that is a sign of the work that the coaches are doing here at the academy. If you look at, we start with what we've got, the infrastructure. Yeah, this club, absolutely fantastic, second to none when it comes to South Africa. On the continent, one of the best as well. If you look at the program that we've put in place, we didn't change much as far as Ajax Amsterdam is concerned. We use most of that philosophy, but soccer is evolving all the time. And we've got to stay up with it. Otherwise, we're going to fall behind. The good thing is we had head coaches that came in, especially the current coach that we have, Ernst Middendorf. He is one for youth. That guy, a person can see that. He assists with the youth. He is not afraid to play the youth. And he brings that German philosophy into the club as well. So we've got a little bit of German and we've got a little bit of Dutch. And of course, our South African flair in there as well. So what we make of it and what we do with what we've got here at the club, that is important. But it's important for us to also realize not all the players will make it. You must also realize at an early age which players must not be allowed to fail. Certain programs need to be put into place to ensure that they don't fail. Somebody mentioned the percentage now the other day, 0.1, something like that. Players in an academy, elite academies, make it. Yet our club, I am glad to say and blessed to say that if you look at the board just outside this office, is a board with the names of the players that made it from juniors into the first team. And more than 4 or 5 players per year makes it into the academy. If we can have 2 or 3 quality players make it into the first team, then we've been a success in the youth academy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually having this conversation just yesterday with someone. I used the same fact that you just used. that you're looking at such a low percentage, and it's 0.01% of players who graduate through academies into professional football. That you seem to buck that trend at Cape Town Spurs by having 4 or 5 sometimes in a year, or certainly every year you've got players promoted. And we've seen that last year at times in the PSL you would have 7 or 8 starting in a Premier League team that have come through your academy, which is phenomenal. And you've just mentioned about sort of how you've continued since the sort of partnership with Ajax Amsterdam sort of came to an end. I mean, just to elaborate on that a little bit, did it have any effect at all on your youth programs, or really did you take so much out of that and have the right structures in place that you feel like you've just been able to continue and maintain those programs that you had at the time that you were partnered with Ajax?
Then nothing has changed. Nothing has changed as far as our training sessions are concerned. Our coaches, we make sure that they go on coaching courses, not only in South Africa, but abroad as well, outside our country as well. And they come back with new ideas. And, we're trying to grow and evolve. Doesn't matter how old we are. We must realize that soccer is evolving. And if we don't go along with that, then we're going to fall behind. And since Ajax Amsterdam has left, we kept on producing. And that is a sign that we are doing the right thing inside these buildings and outside on the field. Some of the coaches has been with Ajax Amsterdam. They're still with us. But even the ones that come in, they get put through workshops and training sessions to ensure that their club mentality, where they come from, is left behind if it's not the same as what we've got inside. If it's not the same as our values and our philosophy, then we put them through a workshop. So you don't come here with your own ideas and want to change things. You've got to follow what we've got, what we're doing already, and what that has been successful with us. We continue with that. You've mentioned something right at the beginning that I wanted to continue with. We ensure that our curriculum works for us as well. You said something that, you spoke about when the first team runs onto the field. Now, that's the first thing I do. I look at the team sheet and I count how many of them came through the youth system. And the more players that come through the youth system will make our first team more successful. Outside this office, against the walls, you will see photos, a collage of photos of successful competitions of the first team, as well as the youth teams, where they won trophies and they've been successful. And you count the number of players that came through the youth system. Then you see the years and the competitions that we've been successful in. Most of the players came from the youth system. There's one PSL photo where we won the top 8.
Yeah.
We had all the players from the youth except for the goalkeeper that was from Holland. All 10 infield players were from our youth system. The goalkeeper was from Holland. So if we can have more in the first team, because they know our philosophy, they love the club, because after all, it's not only what you do on the field, it's about your attitude, psychological factors, sociological factors, the want and living for our values that we've got at the club. That is important. You can be a good player. Doesn't mean you're going to do a good job for your club or for your team. It's if you want to, the attitude must be right. And that is what we try to inculcate. Because we try to develop the player holistically.
Brilliant. And I'll tell you what, that takes us perfectly into the last question we had for you. And what I've learned at the club, and as you know, I've got to know a few of the young players there at the club. A lot of them do come from difficult backgrounds for different reasons, maybe where they live or their upbringing. And, I've learned a lot myself about some of the backgrounds these players come from here in Cape Town itself. So what is the importance of focusing on that holistic support for players? How important is that support for players off of the field as much as the support they get on the field?
You see, firstly, we try and inculcate in the coaches. Firstly, you're a teacher. You must teach football, but also teach other things around it. Because we talk about the role of a coach, there's many factors. Role model, father figure, administrator, psychologist, all those things. And the first thing that we try and get the coach to identify is to know the player.
Yeah.
Know the player and know the person that you are coaching. Forget about the player. Know the person that you are coaching. If you know the person, then you will know what that person needs and how you're going to feed that person with what he needs. That is the most important thing. That is why we have evaluations on a regular basis, where we invite the parents to come to the meetings as well. And then we speak to them and we get an idea of what's happening with the players away from this building. That will give us an idea of how to deal with that player, to get the best out of that player. All the players got files here at the club. And every file has got evaluation forms in. One thing you will find in that form as well is the player's report. Because we want the player, like you mentioned, the percentage that makes it. If they don't make it, then at least they've got an education and we encourage them. We sometimes suspend them from training if the result is not good. So the most important thing to answer the question, we get to know the person first before we go out onto that field.
Brilliant. And I think that that really shows why the club is in good hands there, why you continue to produce the players that you do produce. Clearly, the club's in safe hands with you there, as is South African football. Keep doing the good work you're doing. We really appreciate your time today, Coach. It's been great speaking to you and learning a lot about youth development in South African football, and of course what you're doing there at the club and why you're producing the players that still continue to get the moves. We've obviously seen Rushwin move to Kaizer Chiefs, and obviously other players actually moving on to Stellenbosch, and you just seem to be doing it year after year.
Yes.
Yeah. So congratulations on that, and keep up the good work, mate. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really interesting speaking to you.
Now, thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed this, and thank you for having me. Thanks very much.
Sure
you enjoy yourself.
All right. Thanks, Coach Duncan. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.